The night Elvis stopped his show, a promise kept. March 22, 1975. The International Hotel in Las Vegas was electric with anticipation. 20,000 screaming fans packed the arena, waiting for the king of rock and roll to deliver another unforgettable performance. Elvis Presley, draped in his iconic white jumpsuit with the gleaming gold belt, was in the middle of his second show that evening. Everything was going perfectly. The band was tight, Elvis's voice was strong, and the crowd was absolutely mesmerized. He'd already powered through CC Rider and I Got a Woman, and now he was deep into one of his most emotionally charged numbers, Suspicious Minds. But something was about to happen that would stop the entire show cold and reveal a story that nobody in that arena could have anticipated. Elvis was singing the bridge when his eyes did what they always did during performances, scanning the audience, making eye contact with fans, making each person feel seen. This wasn't unusual. Elvis loved connecting with his audience. But this time, his gaze froze on someone in the middle section. Row 47. An older man, probably in his 60s, wearing a worn military jacket that had clearly seen better days. His face was weathered, tired, marked by years of hardship. There was something about him that made Elvis stop singing mid-verse, the band noticed immediately. Elvis had never stopped during Suspicious Minds before. Ever. The music began to fade as confused musicians glanced at each other, wondering what was wrong. Elvis walked to the edge of the stage, squinting through the bright lights to get a better look at this man. His hand was visibly shaking as he raised it to point directly at the veteran sitting in row 47. "Stop the music," Elvis said into his microphone. Complete silence. The band went quiet. 20,000 people held their collective breath, wondering if this was part of the show or if something was terribly wrong. Red West, Elvis's head of security, immediately moved toward the stage, thinking there might be a threat. But Elvis didn't look scared. He looked like he'd just seen a ghost. "Red," Elvis said, his voice carrying through the arena's massive speakers. "I need you to bring that man backstage right now. The one in the military jacket." Row 47, middle section. Red looked confused but nodded. You didn't question Elvis when he used that tone. The audience started murmuring, completely baffled. Was someone in danger? Was this some kind of publicity stunt? The man in row 47 looked equally shocked, pointing at himself as if to ask, "Me?" "Yes, sir," Elvis said directly to him. "You. Please. I need to talk to you right now." The man's name was Robert Mitchell. He was 62 years old, a Vietnam War veteran from Tennessee who'd saved for 2 solid years to afford tickets to this show. Even then, row 47 was all his disability pension could manage. Robert had absolutely no idea why Elvis Presley was pointing at him. His heart was racing as security guards made their way through the crowd to his seat. The people around him stared with a mixture of concern and curiosity. "Sir, Mr. Presley would like to speak with you," Red West said professionally but kindly. "Would you please come with us?" Robert stood on shaking legs. His daughter, who'd driven him all the way to Vegas for this special trip, grabbed his arm. "Dad, what's happening?" "I don't know, sweetie," Robert whispered. "I honestly don't know." As security escorted Robert through the crowd toward backstage, Elvis remained on stage in complete silence. The audience was getting restless now, confused, some even concerned. But Elvis didn't care about any of that. He turned to face the crowd and did something unprecedented in his career. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elvis said, his voice thick with emotion that everyone could hear. "I need you to bear with me for a few minutes. Something very important just happened, and I need to take care of it. This won't take long, but I promise you, it's more important than any song I could sing tonight." Then Elvis walked off stage, leaving 20,000 confused fans and a band that had absolutely no idea what to do next. When Robert was brought backstage, Elvis was pacing back and forth, his jumpsuit glittering under the harsh backstage lights. The moment he saw Robert up close, tears immediately filled his eyes. "It's you," Elvis whispered. "After all these years, it's really you." Robert looked at Elvis in complete confusion. "Mr. Presley, I think there's been some mistake. I don't know you. I've never met you before in my life." Elvis stepped closer, staring at Robert's face with an intensity that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. Then his eyes moved to the military jacket Robert was wearing, specifically to the name tape that was barely visible on the chest. The name tape read, "Mitchell, Robert. 101st Airborne." But there was something else. A faded unit patch and a small notation that most people wouldn't even notice. Elvis noticed. "July 18, 1969, Elvis said quietly. "Firebase Ripcord. Northern Vietnam." Robert's face went completely white. "How do you know about that?" Elvis's hands were shaking as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn, faded photograph. It showed a young soldier, maybe 19 years old, standing in front of a bunker somewhere in Vietnam. The soldier was holding a guitar and smiling despite the obvious hardship surrounding him. "This is my cousin, Marcus," Elvis said, his voice breaking. "Marcus Riley. He died in Vietnam in 1969. But before he died, he sent me this photograph with a letter." Robert stared at the photograph, and suddenly his legs gave out. Security caught him before he fell, helping him into a chair. "I know who you are," Robert said, tears streaming down his weathered face. "Dear God, I know exactly who you are." Elvis sat down across from Robert. And what came next was a story that had haunted both men for 6 years, though neither knew the other carried the same burden. "Marcus wrote me a letter 3 days before he died," Elvis explained, his voice barely steady. "He told me about a mission that went wrong, about how his unit was ambushed and pinned down. He said they would have all died if it wasn't for one sergeant who ran through enemy fire to get them air support." Robert was crying openly now. "Marcus was the kindest kid I ever met in that hellhole. He used to play guitar and sing your songs to keep our spirits up. He told everyone his cousin was Elvis Presley, but nobody believed him. We thought he was just another kid with big dreams. He told me about you," Elvis continued. "He said there was a sergeant named Mitchell who saved his life 3 times. He said you were the bravest man he'd ever known. And he said that if he didn't make it home, I should find you and thank you for giving him a few more days to live." Elvis couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus had died 4 days after writing that letter, killed by a sniper while on patrol. "I tried to find you," Elvis said desperately. "After Marcus died, I tried everything. I contacted the military, hired private investigators, spent thousands of dollars trying to locate Sergeant Robert Mitchell from the 101st Airborne. But there are hundreds of Robert Mitchells, and the military wouldn't give me information because of privacy rules. I've been searching for 6 years." Robert wiped his eyes with his worn jacket sleeve. "I came home in 1970. Got discharged with a Purple Heart and a leg full of shrapnel. I've been living in a small town in Tennessee ever since, working odd jobs when my leg allows it. I never told anyone about the war. It's too painful." Marcus's last letter to me said one more thing, Elvis continued, pulling out a folded piece of paper from his pocket. "He said, if anything happens to me, please thank Sergeant Mitchell. Tell him that the few extra days he gave me allowed me to write home one more time, to tell my mama I love her, and to play one more song under the stars. That's why I've been looking for you. I made a promise to my cousin." Elvis looked at Robert's military jacket again, studying it more carefully now. "That's his jacket, isn't it?" "That's Marcus's jacket." Robert nodded slowly. "After Marcus died, the unit collected his personal effects to send home. But his jacket was in my bunker because he'd left it there during a card game the night before he died. When they were packing up his belongings, I asked if I could keep the jacket. It was against regulations, but the commanding officer let me. I've worn it ever since. It's my way of keeping him with me. That's when Elvis noticed something he'd missed before. On the inside of the jacket's collar, barely visible, were words written in faded ink, "Property of Marcus Riley. If found, please return to my cousin Elvis in Memphis." Elvis broke down completely. His security team had never seen him cry like this, not even when his mother passed away. Elvis stood up and did something that shocked everyone in the room. He took off his iconic gold belt, the one he wore in every Las Vegas performance, the one worth thousands of dollars, and handed it to Robert. "This belt has been with me through hundreds of shows," Elvis said. "It's one of my most prized possessions. But Marcus gave me something more valuable than any belt could ever be. He gave me a reason to use my fame for something good." Robert tried to protest, but Elvis wouldn't hear it. "You saved my cousin's life multiple times. You gave him a few more precious days on this earth, and you've carried his memory with you for 6 years in the form of that jacket. This belt is my way of saying thank you. Not just for Marcus, but for every soldier who served and every soldier who didn't make it home." When Elvis walked back on stage 25 minutes later, he wasn't alone. Robert Mitchell was with him, still wearing Marcus's jacket, now holding Elvis's gold belt in his trembling hands. The audience had been patient but thoroughly confused. When they saw Elvis return with an elderly veteran, the arena erupted in applause, though nobody knew why yet. Elvis walked to the microphone with his arm around Robert's shoulders. When the applause died down, Elvis told the entire story. He told them about Marcus, about Vietnam, about Robert's bravery, about the 6-year search, and about the jacket that had brought them together against all odds. By the time Elvis finished talking, there wasn't a dry eye in the arena. 20,000 people stood and applauded Robert Mitchell for 5 solid minutes. Many were veterans themselves, others had family who'd served, and some were just moved by this incredible story of love, loss, and redemption. Elvis then did something he'd never done before in Vegas. He sang American Trilogy, a medley of Dixie, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and All My Sorrows, while Robert stood beside him on stage. As Elvis sang, Robert stood at attention, tears streaming down his face, wearing his old military jacket and holding Elvis's gold belt, and somewhere in that performance, something healed in both of them. The grief Elvis had carried for his cousin. The survivor's guilt Robert had carried for every soldier who didn't make it home. After the concert, Elvis made another life-changing decision. He established the Marcus Riley Foundation, dedicated to helping Vietnam veterans who were struggling with physical injuries, PTSD, and the difficult transition back to civilian life. Robert Mitchell became the foundation's first beneficiary, receiving medical care for his leg, financial assistance, and most importantly, the counseling he needed to process his war trauma. "Elvis gave me back my life," Robert said in an interview 6 months later. "Not just through the foundation, but by reminding me that what I did in Vietnam mattered. That Marcus's life mattered. That all of our sacrifices mattered." Elvis continued to perform in Vegas, but something had fundamentally changed. He started every show by asking if there were any veterans in the audience, and every show he would dedicate American Trilogy to them. Word spread quickly, and veterans started coming to his shows in droves, finding healing in his music and his genuine appreciation for their service. The gold belt that Elvis gave to Robert Mitchell that night is now on display at the Marcus Riley Foundation headquarters in Memphis. Beside it is Marcus's military jacket with the faded inscription about Elvis. Thousands of visitors see them every year, and each one leaves with a deeper understanding of what sacrifice means. Robert Mitchell lived until 2003, passing away peacefully at the age of 90. He never missed an Elvis concert when the King performed in Vegas, always sitting in row 47 as a tribute to the night that changed everything. When Elvis himself passed away in 1977, Robert was one of the pallbearers at his funeral, still wearing Marcus's jacket. And Elvis kept his promise to his cousin, Marcus. He found Sergeant Mitchell and thanked him, not just with words, but with actions that helped thousands of veterans in the years that followed. The story of Elvis, Marcus, and Robert reminds us of something profound. Sometimes the people we're looking for are looking for us too. Grief and gratitude can coexist. Promises made to the dying should be kept. And redemption can happen in the most unexpected places, even in the middle of a Las Vegas concert. Elvis stopped his concert that night because he recognized a jacket that his cousin had worn in Vietnam. But really, he stopped because he recognized an opportunity to honor a promise, heal an old wound, and remind everyone in that arena that fame means nothing if you don't use it to acknowledge the real heroes. Robert Mitchell went to that concert hoping to hear good music. Instead, he found closure for trauma he'd carried for 6 years. He found gratitude for sacrifices that had felt invisible. And he found peace in knowing that Marcus Riley's memory lived on, not just in a faded jacket, but in the hearts of everyone who heard his story. The night Elvis stopped his show wasn't just about one veteran or one promise. It was about recognizing that behind every uniform, every sacrifice, and every act of bravery, there's a human story waiting to be told. And sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to stop everything, even a sold-out concert, to make sure that story gets heard.